In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a simple first-then chart using Google Slides. So the first thing that we're going to do in our Google Slides presentation is make sure that our slides are going to be easy to print. To do this, I'm going to go up to File and down to Page Setup. Google Slides usually defaults to either a standard or widescreen monitor, but I've changed this to custom and made it 8.5 by 11 so that it's the same size as a standard piece of printer paper. Now that I have that changed, I'm going to click Apply, and you'll see I have a portrait aligned piece of printer paper that I can now design my first then chart on. So to make my first then chart, I'm going to first get a shape. I'm going to do a rectangle today, so I'll click Rectangle. And I'm just holding down my mouse button while I drag this rectangle to the size that I want. I then will go up to Color Fill, and I can choose my background color. So if I have a student who might need things high contrast, I could pick a black background. Or if I have a student who might need something simple, I can stay with a white background or a sort of lighter colored background and use darker fonts. So we'll go with this light yellow for today. Now that I have my sort of background for the board, the next thing I'm going to do is add boxes for where my first box will go and my then box will go. So again, I'm going up to this little Shapes button with the circle and the square. I'm going over to Shapes, and I'm going to select a rectangle again. I'm going to draw out my rectangle to the size that I want, position it where on the board I would like it, and then I can either copy and paste it, or if you want to get fancy with your keyboard shortcuts, you can select it and then hit Control D on your keyboard to create a duplicate. So now I have two boxes here, and I'm going to add some text boxes for first and then. So I'm going to go back up to the top here. You'll see these two little T's. This is where you're going to create a text box. I can draw my text box. I can change my font, so we'll go with Calibre today and make it a little bit bigger and bold. And I'm going to type the word first. You can resize your text box if you'd like. And then I'm going to drag it. You'll notice as you're dragging things in Google Slides, those red lines will appear, and that's to help you line things up and center them. So I'll do the same thing again, text box, draw it here, I can change my font. I forgot what size. I could also, again, if I wanted to get fancy, copy and paste the formatting from this over to this one. But instead, we'll go up to 26 and bold, and I'm going to type the word then. I can then resize it and try to center it on my box, get my nice little red lines to make sure everything's lined up. If you want to make sure that your boxes here are lined up as well, if you click on it to select and then hold the Shift button, you can select multiple boxes at once, and then right-click, and I'm going to align these vertically, so now they're lined up nicely. I can also make sure they're spaced out well. Again, right-click, and I could do, for some boxes, it'll show up with a Distribute button. With my boxes as well, I may want to change the thickness of the border, so I'm changing it to 8 so it really stands out. Looking at this, the first and then are kind of light, so you could always change those to a bigger font or a different font to make it work for your student. Now that I've got my boxes and first and then written, I want to put a little arrow between my two boxes to show the movement between first and then. To do this, I'm going to go back up to my Shapes button, so that little circle and square. Instead of Shapes, I'm going to go down to Arrow, and then I'm going to pick this first right pointing arrow here, right arrow. Now that I've got it, I'm going to click and drag, and I'm holding down my left mouse button to size my arrow. I can then move it however I like here, and I can go up to my color fill button to change the color of my arrow so that it's something that will work with the design that I'm building here. Again, the colors and fonts that you choose, you know your students best and are aware if they have vision issues or particular colors that they find soothing or agitating, so you can really do a lot of customization on your own with this format. Now that we've got our boxes and arrows and everything, I'm going to click this box, and I'm once again going to either copy and paste or Control D to duplicate. And this is what I'm going to use to make the sort of squares that will fill in here. So this is what my student might have in front of them. I can then print out extras, cut and laminate these individually, and Velcro them into the first and the then. So since these are going to be cut and paste, I'm going to change the border. So if I go up here to border, I can change it to a dashed border. With the dash border, it looks a little funny to have it quite so thick, so I'll change it to a 4-point. And now I can duplicate this button again, Control D, drag it out, Control D again, and I can fit about 3 of these on the screen. If I want to make sure that they're lining up nicely, I can draw a little box, or I can select and hold down the Shift button, right click, and I'm going to align them vertically so that they line up nicely. And then I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to distribute horizontally so that they have equal space between them. It looks like with this design as well, I should have enough to fit 6. So I'm going to draw a box again to select all 3 buttons, hit Control D to duplicate, and then just drag a second row of buttons here. This gives me more options for doing the different pictures in here. Now on each button, I want to put the text of what my students expected to do and a picture. So I'm going to go to my first box here, and the first activity my student is going to do is reading. So I'm typing in reading. Again, you can customize your font. So I might want to make it a little bigger, I might want to make it bold, I could change it so that it matches the board. And then once you've got the font and size and everything that you like, if we go up here to the right, we have this align button, and we're going to use this button that has the arrow with the sort of line above to top align it so that the text goes to the top of the box. You may also, I realize I made all of these before putting the text in. If you are going to do the text and want it to look the same on all the boxes, you could also delete this and then duplicate once you've got it in, so that all of your boxes look a bit more uniform. So again, once I've made my copies of everything, I can do my aligning and my distributing to make sure that they all line up and are nice and neat. So I've got my boxes, I've got text. So for this reading button, I now need to find a picture to put in here. We have a few different options. So if I want to insert a picture in Google Slides, I just go up to Insert, and then I'm going to click Image. And I can choose, if I've got pictures saved on my computer, I can choose one of those. I can use GIFs or stickers. I can find something that I've got saved in my Google Drive. I could take a photo with the camera on the computer, or I can search the web. So my student, I want to do reading first, so I'm going to type in reading into my Google image search, and it'll take just a second, and then some different images will come up. I'll find one that I think is going to work well for my student, so I like this kind of line drawing cartoony one. Actually, I don't like the background in that, so we'll pick a different one. We'll go with this cartoony guy. I can resize it, so I'm just dragging the corner and resizing, and then pulling it straight into my button. Now I've got my first token, or my first item on my first then chart. So I've got that ready to go. So now I want to pick a different photo. So maybe first they read and then we go for a walk. So I'll type in the word walk. Again, go to my Google image, type in walk. And I can pick an image from the web that's going to work for my students. I select one and I'll pull it right in here. I can right click on the image. If it's a little too wide and I want to kind of crop the edges, I can right click and go to crop image to make it a bit more square. And then hit enter, and then I can resize it so it will fit nicely into the boxes here. I can also get rid of or change the border since it's coming out as that kind of dashed print as well. So that's how you would do it with Google Image. Another way or another source of images or pictures to add into something like this is using the Read and Write Chrome extension and using the picture dictionary within that tool. So if you look at the top of the screen, I have my Read and Write extension open. If you click this purple puzzle piece, that's what opens and closes this bar here. If you're not familiar with Read and Write, please talk to your AT coach at your school. It's free and available to all teachers, but you do have to sign up for an account. So if you have questions about it, talk to your assistive technology coach at your site. And then once we've got Read and Write installed, we can type in our words here, and the picture dictionary actually comes up with line drawings for the different words. So let's say we were going to PE. That's one of the things we're going to have to do first. I'm going to highlight PE, and then I'm going to go up to this little button that looks like a happy little picture, and that's the Read and Write Picture Dictionary. It's going to come up with a line drawing for me that I can drag straight out of the picture dictionary into my Google Slides. And it functions the same way in Google Documents, so you can drag and drop pictures from there as well. I can fill in a few more things in here, so PE, maybe we've got snack is one of the things we're gonna do first then. Again, I type the word and then I want to make sure it's highlighted. Once it's highlighted, my picture dictionary will come up with choices. I can drag and drop right into my doc or my slide. One thing with Read and Write is if you make the pictures too big, they do tend to get a little bit blurry. But for most things that you'd be making in a slide or a document, unless you're making a really big picture, it shouldn't be an issue. So again, let's try another one. We'll go history. Highlight that word. Our picture dictionary will come up with some options, and I can drag and drop it straight in here. So this is a nice way too if you want your pictures to kind of look uniform. You can use the Read and Write Picture Dictionary because they all kind of look similar. They're going to be similar size, similar graphics for your students. And now that I've got some pictures in here, I'll just delete this one because I don't want to take too much time with the video. So I'll delete this button. You can put as many in there as you want. If you find you need additional space, you want more items, you can either copy and paste these buttons, or you can right click on your slide, duplicate the slide, and then just get rid of the top part and add more buttons in. So I can copy and paste this way, or duplicate. And now I've got another page with just sort of those fill-in buttons. When I'm ready to go and I'm happy with how everything looks, I can go to File, I can go down to Print, and it'll come up with my print preview. If I've done multiple different versions of this, I'll just print the slides that I want at that moment, or I could print the whole thing. Again, if you have multiple students in your classes who might need this and you want to customize them for your kiddos, you could always duplicate the slide and then go in and change colors and fonts or whatever you may need to make it more interesting or more engaging for your student. So you can customize it quite easily. And that's it. Once you're done, you print what you need and you've got first then boards ready to go. You just cut them out and then laminate the pieces, and you can place a piece of Velcro on the first and then Velcro on the back of each of these so that it's ready to go. I hope this is helpful and hope that you will use this with your students.